Who's ready for an adventure? Another cool day today. We had more rain last night and this morning. It's been on and off. It's holding off right now, which is nice. Got up late, feeling lazy this morning with a belly full of fish, and I know that I have more, so I'm just not feeling the need to be up and active all that early. So anyways, I'm gonna have myself some delicious leftover fish. Doesn't that look good? Yeah, we've been getting a fairly strong north wind recently, and it's just brought cold weather with it and the rain. It was wreaking havoc with my tent last night. Here comes more rain. So I had to get up a couple times to make adjustments on it. So I'm sitting in my shelter now just because it's friggin' cold out there. Been getting colder every day for the past few since it started raining. I'd be surprised if it was double digits Celsius at this point. It's cold. Anyways, giving the old coffee substitute a try. The only thing that's missing is cream, sugar, and any semblance of a coffee taste. That's basically hot water with ash floating in it. So not exactly what I would call a success. I'm gonna drink it anyways because it's warm. So take 2 was a fail. I just overcooked it, burned the crap out of it, and I was left with ashes. I don't know, I did a dry run before I came out here. I cooked it up in an oven and it worked out pretty well. So I don't know, there's potential there, but it's a lot of effort for a cup of coffee in the morning. I was planning on using today to spend a lot of time in the water gathering cattail rhizomes, but the weather is just, it's pretty unpleasant, chilly and pretty windy, rain on and off, so I'm not going to do that today. I just don't relish the prospect of getting cold and wet and having to deal with the potential of hypothermia. I've also got enough food to last me another day or two, no problem. So I'm gonna hold off on that and hope this cold weather trend breaks and it starts to warm up a bit. Ideally it'd be a nice warm sunny day where I can do that, and it's actually nice to be in the water. But if not that, then at least a day when it's not as unpleasant as this. So I'm just trying to decide what to do with my time. I think I might just put in a little bit of work on making another go at the cattail reed mats, the cattail leaf mats. I discovered some more mint today, so yeah, so if I can harvest a supply of that, it would be good to have those mats to use to dry it on. The last mat that I made turned out quite denser than I intended, so I'm gonna leave this pretty spaced out, and then I can always tighten it up if I need to. I won't call that pretty, but it might do what I want of it. So we will I'll have to make a second one of those, and the idea would be, say I get some mint that I want to dry, put some mint plants there, the second one on top, rocks in the corners so that it holds it down. On a windy day like today, the plants aren't going to blow away, and it gives it a chance to air out and dry. Hello, Roy. What do you think? He seems impressed. Where's this stick? What is it? Right here. Do you want this? Oh. Come on. Oh. You broke it. You can't just break it. What about this one? Do you want this one? Do you want the stick? Oh shit. There's that wind for you. Pain in my ass. This shelter was designed for a south wind and to capture, actually, to keep the insects away. It's no longer relevant now that it is cold and a wind is coming from the north. Now it is a counterproductive shelter. Now where were we? So it's still pretty chilly, and I feel like I need to get active to get myself warm. So I'm going to see if I can demonstrate how to do a hand drill friction fire. Now there are two components to the hand drill. There's the spindle and the baseboard. Baseboard material, I like to use balsam fir, and I've found this one right here. And it is a nice standing dead balsam fir. Needles have all fallen off. The bark's starting to peel up near the top there, and so this has been dead for a little while anyways, and it's still standing. And balsam fir is also what I like to use for the bow drill friction fire. So I'm gonna take this whole tree, I'm gonna use part of it today, and I'll save part of it for later. So I've shaped my fireboard. Basically I've flattened two sides, made it nice and thin, and I've just taken the edge off on the other two sides to make a nice 90-degree angle. So now I'm going to cut this out and separate it from the rest of the trunk. So here we have the fireboard for the hand drill. So to start off, I'm going to cut a little notch in my fireboard. This will be a starting point for the spindle. The spindle will then wear into the notch and smooth it out, but this is just basically a groove that it's going to stay in until it gets the chance to build up the friction. So I'm cutting this a little ways in from the edge, and about as big or perhaps a little bigger in diameter than the bottom of the spindle. There you go, that's what I'm talking about. So now that I have the fireboard, I need to make a spindle. So these are 2 cattail reeds that I harvested a few days ago. I've peeled the outer leaves off of them and it's given them a chance to dry. So I'm going to prepare each of these to be used as a spindle because I find that cattail reeds are they're quite light, which is good because it's good to have a soft, light wood. But it's also bad because they sometimes will shred between my hands. So I'm going to prepare them both to be used in case one of them breaks, and then the other one will be ready to go. So here are my 2 spindles and the fireboard. Cattail spindles, balsam fir fireboard. Now before I get started with the actual hand drill itself, I need to go about gathering some tinder for a tinder bundle. So this can be any number of things. Basically it just needs to be dry and fine and fibrous. And you want to make sure you gather your tinder bundle before you start trying to make an ember, because if you succeed in making an ember, then now you have to run around and rush and try to get the tinder bundle together. I also like to build a fire ready for the tinder bundle before I do the ember. So basically making sure that everything is in place, ready to go before you actually get that ember, because once you have the ember, then the clock is ticking and you can't be wasting time messing around with these other things. So that's what we're going to do now, is basically go around and find things that I can use for a tinder bundle. These dry ferns are a good option. I like them as well because there's a decent bit of bulk to them. They've been kept up off the ground and have been able to dry standing. Cattail fluff, as I mentioned, also makes good tinder if it's had the winter to dry. So I'll toss that on the pile, ready to be made into a bundle. Dog fur. No, this is mine now. Oh, take from the belly, he says. Yes, sir. Use dry grass. Birch bark can be good. So this is yellow birch here. This is quite good for tinder bundles. Just the stuff that's going to be flaking off. Dead leaves can be hit or miss. Since they're on the ground, it's easy for them to get wet and stay wet when it rains. So if they are dry, there's a lot of them and they're quick and easy to find. So it's good, but if they're not dry, then obviously not ideal. They might still work, but you want to try and keep things as dry as possible for a tinder bundle. So I might see if I can find some, but I'll probably pass on leaves for the most part this time. So I have my tinder bundle right here, ready to receive an ember. It's got a little, it's loosely packed, has a little hole in the middle. I've got my fire set up and ready to receive the tinder bundle. So now I need to go ahead and use the fire drill, or rather the hand drill kit, to make an ember. One more thing that I like to do is to get some sap on the palm of my hand, not on the fingers though. So by getting sap on the palms, it increases the amount of friction. It makes it more sticky, and it allows me to apply more downward pressure through the spindle rather than having my hands just slip down the spindle. So I've normally used pine sap, but balsam fir works as well. You've got these fluid-filled blisters. You can just pop that, smear it on your palms. I'll just rub that in there. So one thing that I do before I get started, and anytime that I take a break, is I'll slap my hands together. This will increase blood flow to the area, and it prevents hot spots from becoming blisters. And when you are out here using your hands quite often, that's something that's really important. You don't want to have blisters on your hands. So I'll do that now. I've already been doing it a little bit just to get the blood flow going, but I'll do it now as well so you can see what I'm talking about. When I'm turning the spindle, I want to be making sure that my hands pass over each other as much as possible. I don't want to be doing a small little motion like that. I want to do a fuller motion. It's more mechanically effective, and it also spreads the wear and tear across a greater surface area of the palm, preventing blisters from forming. Also, you want to go top to bottom on the spindle. Again, use as much of the spindle as you comfortably can. Just more mechanically effective. So basic motion is this. And while you do want to have some speed to it, I find the most important thing is the amount of downward pressure that you can apply on the spindle. I find that is more effective than going quickly. Also less tiring. So I'm positioning myself so that my weight is forwards and over top of the spindle, which makes it a lot easier for me to generate force down through the spindle. So at this point I'm just working in the notch in the fireboard. So I'm not going to be getting an ember at this point. I do see smoke already though. So I've now worked in, I'm just going to get rid of that dust. You could save it, but I will have no trouble making more. So I've worked in the groove that I originally cut. So now the next step is to cut a V in the fireboard there. So I've now cut a groove in there. I've experimented a little bit with the shape of the groove for the hand drill, and using, the notch rather. Using the cattail spindles especially, I find that if the notch is too big into the circle itself, the spindle can slip through. So I like to have a fairly narrow notch into the actual groove where the spindle will be working, and then widen it up to allow more oxygen to enter the system and to allow more sawdust to collect. I'm going to put it on top of a piece of bark here, and that will just be a base for the sawdust to collect, and then it's easier for me to transport to the fire or to the tinder bundle as well once I do get the ember. So I'm going to make sure my tinder bundle is ready to go, make sure my fire is ready to go, whole kit set and ready, and now I begin the test. So I'll start fairly slowly at first. Work as far down as I can. Starting to get a bit of sawdust collecting there. I'm out of practice. That Earl's hungry. Tired. That's disappointing. I guess that's one of those factors about the survival situation. You're going to be tired, you're going to be hungry. won't have the energy that you normally do. It's just missing that final push. My arms just don't have it in them right now. Just surprising. One possible problem here is that the bottom of the groove is worn black there, so that might be reducing friction at the point where it meets the spindle. So what I'm going to do is find a little bit of sand, put it in that hole there, and give it another go. So I'm going to put some little bits of rock in there, and that'll hopefully it will not shred the bottom of the spindle, but rather will wear that out, and it will increase friction. So yet again, the final push. You know what? I think I'm going to have to give that up as a bad job for today. I'm stopping because I can feel a blister forming on my palm, and it's better to stop now and let that recover, try again in a day or 2 or 3, than to keep going and get a blood blister there that's going to take a week, 2 weeks to heal, especially out here when I need my hands. So a little disappointing, but that's all part of the process. Now that's the first time that I've failed with cattail spindle on a balsam fir fireboard using sap on the palms to increase friction. That's the first time I failed with that combination in quite a while, and possibly ever actually. And that just, even though it was a failure, I learned something from it. It's things are different when you are tired and hungry. And B, it's an entirely different ballgame out here in the bush. There's more moisture in the air, especially with the last, well, I've had rain the last 4 days. And just, yeah, conditions are different. It's, I did a lot of practicing inside. I did practicing outside when in drier weather. So when it's out here in the cold and the wind and the moisture, it's like I said, it's a completely different ballgame. So even if you feel comfortable with a skill like that, it's important to practice with as many different variables as possible, just to keep yourself on your toes. I learned something from this, and anytime you learn something, it's not truly a failure. So I'm going to let my hands recover, and I'm going to come back to that. So yeah, on the note of the hands, I've washed most of the sap off, but so there's my left palm, and you can see I've got a bit of a blister going there. So I probably should have stopped a little bit sooner, but like I said, I'm not accustomed to failing with the variables that I had in place today, so I was not willing to give up without a fight. So live and learn. Unsuccessful today. I will be successful before long though. Mark my words. No sense wasting a good preset fire. Just imagine that was done with friction. Wow, wouldn't that be impressive? Wow, we'd be saying, look at it go. That's amazing. Nice dry tinder bundle anyways, that's for sure. Made some alterations to the shelter today. Cold north wind was blowing in hard in the entrance there, and needed some adjustments, so I basically dropped the entrance a little bit, really secured the sides down a bit more. So what was originally designed as a shelter that would allow wind to come in from the south and basically blow the bugs out has now been altered so that it will keep some of the north wind from getting in, and it's a little lower, not a whole lot, but it's a little lower, so it will be a little more effective at keeping heat in as well now that the conditions have changed. Cold evening is a good time for some hot tea. So this evening I'll be making yellow birch and a little bit of mint tea. So I'm going to toss that in there. Let that steep for a little while. Might add a few more yellow birch twigs there. Anyways, I'll give that some time to steep and then I'll come back and let you know how it is. So my tea has been steeping for about 20 minutes now. Go ahead and give it a try. That's quite good. So could use a little bit more mint, but like I said, it's quite good. So that's of the teas that I've had so far on this trip, that's probably up there with the blueberry raspberry tea. So definitely recommend it. Yellow birch and mint tea. So today was an interesting day. It was cold and windy throughout. It's finally calmed down wind-wise. Had a little bit of rain, but all in all it was not a rainy day unlike the last few, so that was nice. I didn't do any food acquisition at all today. Just laid low for the most part. I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks. Bass season opens and that'll be a lot more fish on the table for me. I'm used to fishing for pike. I'm not used to fishing for walleye. I'm used to fishing for bass. Bass is the main fish that I go for, so I'm hoping a lot more consistent protein. Also, berries should be coming in the next few weeks. Strawberries first, I believe, but I'm sure I'll find out soon enough. One more thing I was going to say, I did notice there were a couple boats of people on the lake today. I spoke with them briefly just in passing, and they presumably know this lake fairly well. So I was able to scope out where they were fishing, so I'll have to give those spots a try. Anyways, I think that is about it for today. It was a reasonable day. Well, I survived another day, so how bad could it possibly be? Day 8 is in the books, and looking forward to day 9 tomorrow. I just wanted to make one more note before I fall asleep here. I would say the highest point in my day was the hand drill effort. Even though I failed at it, I was active, I was doing something, and I learned from it. And well, like I like to say, it's never truly a failure unless you don't learn something from it. So the biggest thing that I learned was that just because I'm comfortable succeeding in a practice situation doesn't mean that I'm going to succeed out here in the bush, so I need to kind of take more efforts at it and figure out what exactly I need to do in order to get that success. The early part of the day I spent a lot of time just wishing for things that I couldn't have. Like I was sitting here thinking I could really go for cheeseburger and onion rings, or a glass of red wine and some cheese, or something like that. Just things that I'm not going to have for a long time. There's no point having these thoughts because they're not leading to anything, and they're making me wish that I'm not where I am. And also makes me hate where I was, because it was an unpleasant day. It was cold and windy. So yeah, just basically a lot of the morning and early afternoon was spent unproductively because of my mentality. My mind was not where it needed to be, And as a result, it was really a crappy day up until the hand drill effort, because when I made that effort, my mind was in the right spot. I was learning, I was thinking, I was trying things, and even though I didn't succeed, I was still, my mind was working on those things. So just really hammers home how important mentality is in a survival situation. You can't be wishing for things that you're not going to be having. You need to be thinking about, what can I be doing right now? What do I need to do in the future? What are my priorities, and how can I reach them? How can I achieve my goals? So yeah, just an important note on mentality. It's more than half the battle, I would say. I started slipping into it a little bit as I was going to bed tonight, thinking, yeah, I could really go for a cup of hot chocolate and some chocolate chip cookies. Just no, shut that right out. I could go for half a dozen sunfish and a collection of cattail rhizomes. Why don't I get that tomorrow? Still hoping the weather's going to change, though. Can't change that, but I can still hope for it. It seemed like the wind shifted a little bit today, and the conditions changed in the evening, so I actually saw the moon for the first time on this trip. I'll see it again tomorrow, I hope, because the sky will be clear. Anyways, just wanted to make that note on mentality before I went to bed. See you tomorrow.